A rusty beam of twilight pierced the cracks between the roof tiles. The kitchen was the stepmother's domain, its walls blackened by grease and cooking smoke. In the corner, an earthenware jar held fermenting fish sauce. Swarms of greenbottle flies hovered around its rim, their only visitors. The stepmother sat on the threshold, like an ancient Buddha statue, crushing beetle nuts. Tam, this young girl, was covered in dust. Her eyes held the emptiness characteristic of long-term abuse from her stepmother. She stood before the greasy stove. She wasn't cooking. She was processing entrails. Her rough, wounded hands reached into the abdomen of a freshly gutted animal. The entrails were still steaming. In this house, the stepmother held absolute power. Downpour was imminent. The sky was a sickly purplish black, like a giant bruise. Vegetation on the bank grew wildly in the humid heat, vines dangling into the water like tentacles, silently waiting in the darkness to ensnare their prey. Tam knelt on the bank, whispering to the water. She was calling to her fish, left to her by her deceased mother, her only solace in this hellish home. At once, a large, vein-corded hand burst from the muddy depths. It was the stepmother's. The blood spread in the murky pool water like a tragically beautiful rose flower. The dinner began, and Tam was forced to sit at the table. In front of her was only a bowl of fish soup. In the bowl, a section of fish spine has been carefully removed. Tam's pupils contracted violently. She had just eaten her only companion. Her stepmother's hand was gripping her shoulders like an iron clamp. Tam was forced to swallow. With a swallowing sound, the light in her eyes went out completely. She was heartbroken. She had lost all hope. The prince's selection ceremony for a bride has begun. However, Tam's stepmother gave him an impossible task: to sort through this basket of beans. Tam knew the task was a ruse. The real reason was house arrest. The midday sun was as hot as a whip. Tam knelt in the middle of the sea, off beans, desperately sorting them. Suddenly, darkness fell. It wasn't dark clouds. It was sparrows. Thousands upon thousands of sparrows. Their eyes gleamed with an eerie red light. Their movements were mechanical and stiff. They began to peck at their prey. The pale moonlight shone on Tam's thin, bony back. All around was a deathly, silent banana grove. Tam knelt in the muddy ground of the backyard, burying the fish bones in the pit while muttering indistinct incantations. The soil began to ripple. A faint blue phosphorescent light rose from the burial site. Moths circled around the phosphorescent light. The flames died down, and a pair of golden dancing shoes and a gown appeared. Inside the palace, a grand ball was underway. The handsome prince waved to the guests. Suddenly, an unnatural pause occurred in the crowd. Tam walked in and headed straight for the center of the dance floor. She was wearing that gorgeous gold gown. Every inch of the fabric shimmered, and Tam was dazzlingly beautiful. The prince was infatuated. He stepped down from the throne and took Tam's hand. They danced gracefully. But in the corner, the stepmother and her daughter Cam stared intently at Tam's retreating figure. They knew their dreams of meteoric success were shattered, and jealousy drove them mad. Tam noticed her stepmother's approaching face. She shoved the prince away and ran out of the palace. A shoe slipped off her foot and got stuck on the moss-covered stone steps. Under the moonlight, the prince picked up the shoe. He watched Tam's figure disappear into the dark forest. The prince's guards are searching for a girl. The owner of those shoes. The beautiful girl who ran away. Cam tried to put it on, but the shoe refused to let her. Her feet were too big. Inside the room, her stepmother expressionlessly handed Cam a knife.
Cut it off, and when you become queen, you won't need to walk anymore.
Half of his heel fell to the floor. White bone was visible through the bright red muscle fibers. Cam trembled as she forced her feet into the gold shoes. The golden shoes rejected her again, and blood seeped from the gap at the top of the shoe. Cam lay slumped on the porch, her feet wrapped in blood-soaked bandages, her eyes filled with venom. As the sun set, Tam walked in and picked up her shoes. With the lubrication of blood, the shoes fit the feet perfectly. Tam put on her gold dress again. The prince pulled Tam onto the horse's back. Tam sat in front of the prince, and they rode towards the magnificent palace in the distance. Driven mad by her stepmother's jealousy, she devised a wicked plan. The dark ancestral hall was filled with paper effigies, and Tam knelt in the middle to worship his late father. This is her first time home after marrying the prince.
Dear daughter, your father loved to eat the betel nuts from this tree when he was alive. Can you go up there yourself and pick a few for him?
Stepmother said. Tam looked up at the betel nut tree. It's too high. She is crawling step by step towards the hell that her stepmother has prepared for her. Her stepmother handed Cam an axe. Each blow of the axe striking the tree sounded like a countdown to Tam's death. Tam fell from the tree and died. Yet for her, death was only the beginning of something else. Her soul was filled with resentment and rage, and so the cycle of revenge began. Cam was washing clothes by the river. Suddenly, a golden figure plunged from the sky and pecked at his eyes. Cam realized then that his sister had returned in the form of Tam's restless soul, but she seized the bird. Its fragile neck snapped beneath her fingers. Cam looked down at the lifeless body in her hands. Madness shone in her eyes. Once again, she had killed her sister. Cam buried the bird in the soil. When she was gone, 2 bitter chinaberry trees rose from the place where it lay. As Cam passed by, the branches lashed at her like whips. She cut the trees down and fashioned them into a loom, the grain of the wood dark red, like veins beneath flesh. The shuttle darted back and forth between the threads at a terrifying speed. In the woven cloth, the patterns twisted and slowly formed Tam's eyes. Overcome with terror, Cam struck a flame. Fire leapt up and consumed the wood. As the loom burst and cracked, its breaking timbers cried out like the rage of Tam's soul. Cam burned the loom to the ground and scattered its ashes across the wild fields. But from those ashes, a sapling rose, and with the rain, it grew swiftly into a towering persimmon tree. At midnight, an enormous golden fruit appeared among the branches. Veins spread across its skin, and deep within, a heart seemed to pulse. With a wet tearing sound, the fruit split open, and Tam crawled out from within, naked and reborn. Her eyes held no human feeling anymore. They were the eyes of a god of vengeance. And then, Tam returned to the palace once again. Cam gazed at Tam, risen from the dead, and more beautiful than before. Envy stirred within her, and she asked, "Why are you so beautiful than before?" Tam pointed toward a massive iron cauldron in the center of the courtyard. Tam replied, "To shed the old self, one must endure the baptism of boiling water." Fear faltered. Vanity prevailed and Cam plunged into the cauldron. Cam's hands flailed in the boiling water. Her skin peeled away in moments, exposing the vivid red flesh underneath. Tam stepped forward. She lifted the heavy wooden lid and pressed it down. Cam is dead. As the stepmother ate, the crows cried out. Tam had a jar of soy sauce delivered to her as a gift. At the bottom of the jar, her chopsticks touched something solid. It slipped free and rolled across the table. That is a skull. She stood motionless, recognition dawning. It was Cam's flesh. The terror halted her heart. With eyes fixed wide open, she fell to the floor and did not wake again. With that, Tam completed her revenge. In hatred's shadow, the youth who killed the dragon became the dragon at last.